Beep, beep. My hat!
Hello, so we're continuing the teardown. In the past couple of videos, we removed everything in the rear of this Slash two-wheel drive. Now we're going to do the front end. So we want to remove this clip. But first I'm going to remove the wheel, just to make it easy. So first thing, just hold on to it. Use a 7mm driver. And the wheel will come out, but make sure you hold on to it. If not, it's just going to spin forever. So you want to hold on, and that's it. Alright, so wheel is off, and I'm just going to set this there. Perfect. So in order to remove the front end, you're going to have to remove some of the screws here for the bumper. So you have 1, 2, 3. As soon as you remove these 3, you're going to need a 2mm, 2.5mm. There will be 2 other screws just below this brace. Then after that, you will have to remove these 2 screws right here, and then this should all come out. But you will have to do a twisting motion as you're removing it. So we're going to begin with our 2mm driver. And always keep the screws somewhere that you know you're not going to lose them, knock them off the table. And another thing too that I like doing, and I've mentioned this, is if you're not labeling things, I mean you should, but one thing you can do is if you have a mat like this or any surface where things don't easily roll off, you know that came, you can just place, for example, this screw here, this one there, and then you know that's the order they go in. So that's just an example. After you've done so many of these, you just kind of get used to it. Alright, so for this, you can remove the bumper if you want. I'm just going to twist. So notice there's one screw exposed, there's the other. Those are the ones you have to remove. The bumper is very, very flexible. You're not going to break it. All you need to do is just move it to the side enough for you to get your driver through. That is all you have to do. So here I'm just going to remove those 2 screws, and those are the only 2 screws in there. And these are what hold the chassis to the bulkhead. So that one is finished. So if you had to remove the bulkhead, say you broke it, this would be the procedure. Alright, removal of those 2 screws is almost complete. Perfect. Alright, and they are loose. They're still in there, but it is now loose. Now you just turn this upside down, and you will be removing these 2 screws, for which you will need a 2.5mm driver. Now you can use the tools provided by Traxxas, but it's going to take a longer time, and your fingers are going to hate you. So just invest in good quality drivers. This driver here, again, MIP. There's other good brands that you can use as well. I just like the grip. This one. Alright, so we've removed those 2 screws, and now we can go ahead and remove this. Now, when you pull, you're going to notice it's going to get stuck. And the reason why it's getting stuck is the chassis flares out here at the end. Right there. So what you're going to have to do is one of 2 things. You're going to have to either lift up and pull this way, or you're going to have to lift and turn. And that is all. So now all that I have to do is I have to remove my links here. And these links I'm actually going to remove from here. I'm not going to remove over here. And the reason for that is because I want everything to come out, but I want the steering belt crank to stay there. So we will move this here. One of the things that you will notice, you need a 2mm driver, that you will notice from the belt crank, that's the component in here that steers everything, from a 2-wheel drive Slash VXL is that it is actually the same as the 4-wheel drive. So it's a much stronger design, much stronger construction. Actually, I will be needing this. Compared to the brushed is a simple plastic one, the servo saver on the servo, versus the VXL, you will notice that there is no servo saver here. The servo saver is on the belt crank. So there is a spring on the belt crank, and that's how this one works. And I will show you that spring. It's right in there. Alright, so now we have taken the front clip off. And now we're going to continue with the teardown of the front clip. Alright, so something that commonly breaks, well, your shocks have to go. These things will pop once you start doing a few more jumps, being a little more aggressive with your bashing, or even racing for that matter, if you're starting to race with these. You will start to notice that these little caps will start popping out. Once it pops out once, that's it, it's over. So something that you may want to invest in will be the aluminum caps, such as these. And they work. There is a drawback, though, to them, and that's for another video. My recommendation is to just invest in the GTR shocks by Traxxas. You're going to need the longs for the front and the extra long for the rears. So just look for XX long for the rear, and then just long for the front. There's a variety of springs that Traxxas makes. I like running the blue rear springs, front and rear. So I run those all around. I actually think the rear springs work best on the front shocks. And that is it. So that's the removal of the shock. Now, I showed you in a different video, all you have to do is pull here, hold the spring, this falls off, and then you remove the spring. Insert the spring again. The little cap on, and that's it. Alright, at this point, next thing to remove is the bumper. We're going to go ahead and just remove the bumper completely. We will need our 2.5mm driver, and you just have 4 more screws left. Now these bumpers are very flexible, they're very strong, so chances are you're only going to be removing the bumper if you have to do something to the bulkhead. And the bulkheads do break from time to time. I do recommend you get an RPM bulkhead if your bulkhead breaks. Some people like buying a Traxxas vehicle and then upgrading it right away. That's pretty expensive. So chances are, if you're watching these videos, you're probably getting into the hobby. You're trying to see what you're getting yourself into as far as the labor that's involved. To be honest, it might seem like a lot, but it's fun. It's relaxing. But it's cheaper for you to just start off with your truck, wear out the components, and then just replace them as you go. If not, just build it from scratch. Don't buy a whole Traxxas vehicle. Just buy the parts that you need. Because then you're not going to be left with a bunch of random parts. Now in my case, it doesn't matter because I have more than one slash. So if I upgrade one slash completely, now I have a bunch of spare parts for the other one. So keep that in mind. Or, I bought my nephew's slashes, so 3 of them have a Traxxas Slash. So whatever parts I'm not using, even if I never need them because I upgraded everything, let's just say, I can just save them and give my nephews the spare parts. So here we go. Here's the bumper assembly, and I'm going to keep this together. If I wanted to remove the spring here from this, it's just 2 screws in there, and that's it. But we're going to keep this as one component. So that's the bumper. All right, so now we need to remove this part of the body mount. And all you need is a 2.5 millimeter driver, and there's 2 screws back here. Now keep in mind that Traxxas does make a really cool kit. I mean, I say it's a really cool kit. It's just a Slash 2-wheel drive, but it's unassembled, so you can actually assemble it from scratch, which is pretty cool. So if you're watching my teardown videos, just do everything in reverse order, and you will have the assembly. Or you can watch my future video on a Traxxas Slash build that I will be doing. It's actually using Proline RPM parts, which is a video you may be interested in. All right, and that is it. So we are finished with that part of the teardown. Now we need to remove the shock tower. For the shock tower removal is quite simple. You just need to remove these 2, which is 2.5, and then these 2 screws, which are 2 millimeter. The 2 millimeter screws hold it onto the bulkhead. So if you had to remove just the bulkhead, you would only remove these 2 screws. But since we're removing the shock tower, we'll go ahead and remove everything. This is also a procedure you would end up doing if you had stripped the inside of one of these end links, which is something that happens from time to time, especially when you take a hard side impact. It can be either from somebody crashing into you, or your vehicle crashing sideways into a wall, or your vehicle just tumbling. I'm going to keep this in there. Something else I like doing. It's easier to keep track of screws that way. All right, let's see. There we go. 2 hands makes it faster. And there it is. Now we use our 2 millimeter driver. And the nice thing about these mats is it provides just enough friction so parts don't spin about the table. It also protects the surface of your table. Alright. So I'm just holding the driver and the arms this way. And that's the last screw. And there we go. All right. So we have successfully removed the front shock tower. And now we have this here. So for this part here, now we will be removing the arms. The arms, that's another component that many times breaks, and when arms break, they generally break here on the hinges. I have not seen an arm break somewhere here in the middle. It's usually in the hinges, and it's usually in the inside, right in here. So for this, one of the things that you will notice is you do not have screws here, you have E-clips. And they're called E-clips because they look like an E. So for this, you can use a driver and just push it out. You can use a fine flathead screwdriver, or you can use pliers. My recommendation would be to just use pliers. You can use a set of needle nose or something with a fine point. This here I bought at Lowe's for, I believe, about $15. It was under 20. I'm sure it was. There's another video where I mentioned the actual price. But it's a very good kit. It's good quality tools. I know Husky makes a kit. The only thing with the Husky kit is it doesn't come with these needle nose pliers. Craftsman makes a kit as well, but it wasn't on sale. That's why I picked up the Cobalt. So that's the only reason. The Cobalt was 15, Craftsman was 21, maybe. And they're both good base tools. So all you do is you open these up just a smidge. You're going to grab the E-clip just here on the sides, and you're just going to push out, and this will come out. Now, set up some magnets, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos when I'm doing a bandit teardown, just in case this flies out, because you will be needing these again for reassembly, unless you're replacing these with these different pins, which you can. They will fit. All right, so let's see. This turns, and just grab. Usually they fall out right away. There we go, perfect. And really quick, this is why they're called E-clips. Let's see, can you see? Probably not. There we go. So it looks like a little E. Just the shape of it. There's a little part there. All right, so let's put the E-clip over here. Let's not lose it. You only have to remove one E-clip, and then this just comes out. And there is an E-clip on the other side as well. If you end up breaking this brace, don't worry about it. You don't actually need it. I mean, these break when you crash left and right. So, well, they break left and right when you crash. They do make some aluminum ones. They're just going to bend. You don't really need them. All right. Oh, almost. Stand these up. There we go. All right, there's the other E-clip. And you just push this out. And once you push it out, here's your bulkhead. And there's your brace. Put those to the side. And you are just left with these components. Now, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble one. If you know how to disassemble one, you know how to disassemble the other. One thing that you do want to note, though, is the orientation of the arms. Caster blocks, these guys, and the hub carriers. Right. So this is front to rear. So the little arm on the carrier should be pointing back. The shocks mount forward. And then all of these components go toward the rear. Notice the screw goes down, up, back to rear. So I will be removing one, turning one of these down. The first thing I'm going to do is just remove this screw. And this is just a 2.5 millimeter driver, so this is smaller. So once you remove this, the arm will come free. Usually, if I had to choose between breaking something such as the bulkhead, this here, or breaking an arm, I'd rather, well, not break anything, but if something were to break, the arm is easier to replace because you just remove this hinge pin and this hinge pin, and the shock arm comes off. Versus the bulkhead, you have to tear everything down. But that's the arm, so that's how you remove the arm. Now, for these other components, you're going to need your 2.5 millimeter driver, but you're also going to need a 5.5 driver. Now, if you have a 5.5 driver, such as the one I have, go ahead and use that. If not, you can use the tool that's provided in your Traxxas kit. And it's this side. And you can turn both of them, you can turn one of them. Doesn't matter. There we go. So the nut comes out. Once the nut comes out, this is still threaded on. So you will have to complete the unthreading. Another thing to note is the shorter links are the top links. The longer links are your steering links. Now, I do prefer these drivers with the longer handle. They're easier to grip and they're easier on your fingers as well. All right. The reason why I'm holding